Hi, I'm Karen MacNeil. This is WineSpeed.com's People to Know, insider interviews with the most important and fascinating people in the wine business. And today we're here with Rupert Symington, who is the CEO of Symington Family Estates. Rupert, the Symington family is, of course, one of the most important wine families in Portugal, indeed in all of Europe. And you own 22 quintas, so many of the important port firms, Warres, Cockburns, Grahams, Dows. It's extremely hard to run a single winery, never mind dozens. What's the secret of the family's success?
Well, I think each generation has acquired a historic house. So we didn't found any of those four companies that you mentioned. But my great-grandfather bought Warres, my grandfather and his brothers bought Dows, my father and his cousins bought Grahams, and then myself and my cousins bought Cockburns. And we've tried to preserve the DNA of those houses. These are companies with traditional links to certain vineyard estates, certain ways of making wine, and we've tried to preserve as far as possible that uniqueness. So it's almost, you know, if my family were lucky enough to own Lafite, Latour and Mouton, you know, we would be the equivalent to trying to preserve the culture and the identity of those brands quite separately.
Yeah. What is it about wine that moves you personally?
I think wine is one of those industries where you can learn so much from experience. I mean, we are still, after 130 years in the Douro Valley, we're still learning about our terroir, about our soils, about how they work with different varietals and different weather conditions. And I think, you know, a family ownership, we're not appointing or hiring a new winemaker every 10 years like some wineries have to do. Our winemakers have been, you know, successively my grandfather and his brother John, my father and his cousin Peter, and now my cousin Charles, who's here today. And it's, you know, it is a huge responsibility, but we learn a lot from our parents in the wine business.
Yes. Is port underappreciated, misunderstood today?
I think port, obviously, you know, until the 1950s, people hadn't figured out how to preserve red wine. And about 50% of the wine sold in the US, I believe, prior to the 50s was fortified. And fortification was a way of preserving, keeping wine fresh and drinkable, preventing it from going through secondary fermentations. And, you know, I think that relative to where we were, we're certainly not selling perhaps as much as we were. I think the peak port year of selling port was 2000, so quite recently.
Wow.
And since then, the overall volume has come off a little bit. Not in the US, actually. In the US, it's gone up. But in continental Europe, where port was sold as an inexpensive aperitif, those, you know, with the costs of producing port becoming more, you know, the reality of growing in the Douro Valley, it's very expensive. We can't compete against Proseccos and other traditional things. So in terms of port's relevance, I think there's probably less port being consumed, but ironically, the value of all port being consumed has gone up. So people are buying better qualities.
Right. Well, there goes my theory that port consumption is dwindling to a worryingly low degree. You wouldn't say so?
I wouldn't say. I mean, I think, you know, 10 years ago in the US, I think the imports of port were about $18 million. I think last year they were 28 million. You know, it's quite a big difference in, you know, in value over a short period of time.
So your title is CEO, and when you think of your own personal success, what character traits do you possess that you think have led to your own personal success?
Well, being a member of a board of directors in a family business is obviously very different from being a professional director in a big, you know, I know, Fortune 500 company. You know, I think the skill in a family business is recognizing the skills of your family members, and to me, the first rule is to allow people their space. The moment you start treading on someone else's toes, so as CEO, I'm very keen to divide out the responsibilities very clearly, so there isn't any of that, oh, you know, I thought I was doing that kind of approach. But obviously there's another side of the business. We have half a dozen directors who are non-family, and they obviously, they need to be managed just like any other professional directors, and aware in a family business there may be a bit of a glass ceiling. It's traditional that the senior managers, senior directors of our company have always been family members. That may change going forward, but I think the qualities, I believe I'm a good listener, and I'm perhaps not as aggressively corporate as I might be if I were in a Fortune 500 company.
Yes. All right. And last question. Tell us something about you that would surprise most people to learn.
That's a very good question.
You're a skateboarder. No.
No. I have a very good sense of humor, I believe. I make myself laugh. No, that's not quite true. I do enjoy good conversation. I enjoy language. I enjoy reading history. I have a fairly good, outdoor routine. I do a lot of walking, which is pretty normal. I don't do any sport. I love driving old 1960s sports cars at the weekend when I can. Okay. And but I think it's my interest is in history and the English language. I think is I'm actually a mathematician by training, by education. But I wish in some ways I'd done the arts, because I think that's what I love today.
All right. Well, thanks, Rupert. And our full interview with Rupert Symington is on winespeed.com. People to know. Read it now. I think you'll really like it.